Earlier this week I was talking to my brother. For those of you know, I'm a middle child. I have a younger sister and an older brother. And I was talking to him, and he had made an Instagram post, and he posted a picture of him when he was like super young, like he was probably in like middle school. Then he posted a picture of him when he was in high school, and then he posted a picture of him, and he went to two different colleges. He ended up getting his master's at the University of Maryland, and he. On the post, he said, just in case you guys were wondering where I've been chasing my dreams. Like I thought about this for a really long time. I thought about this from when I was, super young, because he did the picture, he did the whole swipe thing, and he was like, I've been dreaming about this for a really long time. And I think when we talk about goals, we don't really. I think we talk about SMAC, we talk about SMART, and how to set those goals up and how to achieve them. But what he was saying in his post is, he was like, what he really did that he felt like really set him apart was he exposed himself. He exposed himself to the people who had what they wanted. And I was talking to him on the phone about it, and I was like, obviously I was really proud of him, and he did everything that he said he was going to do. And I think sometimes a lot of us talk, right? We say, oh, I want to do this. I want to run a business. I want a $1 million home. I want this car. I want to travel to this place. And I think all of those things are great, and I think they're worthwhile. But it's like we have to take a look into ourselves and be like, okay, how do I actually get to these goals? And so when we were talking, he took a little bit of a different spin on it, on how he really went about setting his goals and ultimately achieving them. And so I have 5 points for you guys. And I think if you set a goal and then you start thinking about these things in tandem with the goal, it's going to be a lot easier to achieve. So number 1, your personal philosophy. And what I mean by that is like, what's your perspective on life? Like, how do you see things? I know we talk about it a lot, like your perspective is your reality. However you see something, however you view something, that's what it's going to be. And so I think your personal philosophy has to be strong. So you are what you think. If you think you can, you're right. If you think you can't, you're also right. So it's like, when we set those goals, we have to start thinking that, like, do you believe that you can do it, or is it just something that you're just saying? Like, so first you have to have that personal philosophy for yourself. I think number 2 is self-confidence. And when we were talking, I think self-confidence just really comes from repetition, right? Because how do you get confident in anything? You got to do it over and over and over and over again. Just like the pitch, on everyone's very first day, we talk about the pitch, and we do it at least 30, 40 times before we leave here. We do it another 100 times when we get out to the field, but that's the only way we get confident in something, is repetition, doing it over and over and over again. And so when you set a goal, I think you have to remember that as well. Like, you're going to have to trial and error to get to the ultimate goal at the end. Number 3 is exposure. And this was the biggest point that he talked about. He exposed himself to the people that had what he wanted. And just a little side note, he always wanted to be on Wall Street. Do all of the stocks and investments and all of that stuff. And that's ultimately what he did. But he exposed himself to those people. I can't tell you how many conferences that he went to just based off of finances and people who were making the money that he wanted to make. Like, it was, even in high school, he was always invited to these different things that were exposing him to the people that were in the positions that he wanted to be in. Because when you expose yourself, you start thinking differently, right? You're like, okay, well, I see this is possible. So I think exposure is super important when you're talking about getting towards your goals. For those of you who want to open businesses and things like that, you got to start exposing yourself to people who have that. Because you start surrounding yourself with different people, again, you start thinking differently. Number 4 is humility. A wise man once told me, if you don't have what you want in life, it's because you haven't helped enough people get what they want in life. Right? And I think that's like the purest definition of humility. Right? You got to help people along the way in order to get to your goals. Because I think most goals that are worthwhile are like you go. It's better to go with someone, right? It's better to go with people. And so when you're thinking about, okay, how can I get to my goal? It's like, let me help someone along the way. If I learn something, let me pass it on to the next person. And I think that's so true in our industry because that's exactly how you move from one stage to the next. You don't get from one stage to the next without teaching someone else how to do the exact thing, right? So having that humility in the process. And then number 5, all right? I think number 5 is, kind of sums it all up, is your driving force. And that's your why, right? I think your why has to be, it's got to be bigger than you. It's got to be something that's going to force action, right? I think for some people it's like something large, like, retiring your parents or, setting your kids up for generations to come, right? And for some people it's something smaller, right? Maybe it's just they want to buy a nice car. Maybe it's buy a nice house or whatever the case might be. But it's like, it's got to be something that's going to force you into action. Something that's going to get you up every single day and be like, I have to go after this, right? That's different for everybody. But I think overall, guys, when we talk about setting goals and, with it being Friday, we're getting ready to, carry this momentum into a huge week. Like, start thinking about your goals and think about those 5 things as you're starting to set your goals, because I think when you do that, you move faster, you move closer to the goals. And just like my brother was saying, he was like, I thought about this for years on end. Like, he had a plan. He was like, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, I'm going to get here, and I'm going to end up at my ultimate goal. But it wasn't through just doing it. It wasn't just through saying it. It was believing in the process. It was believing that he could. And so with that being said, today, let's set massive goals on a Friday. I know we all have a lot of goals to hit. So with that being said, what time is it?
Showtime!
We win!
Regardless!